So, guys, before we even get into basketball in New York, let's just talk about the host city for All-Star Weekend, New York City. Jet, because you're born and raised, I will let you begin. Describe the city of New York. If someone has never been there, Kenny, how would you describe it?
It's a melting pot, and it's every 3-4 blocks. There's a different culture, different experience, a different sound, a different feel, different smell, different texture. So you don't have to be pigeonholed to be anything. And the other thing about it is celebrity doesn't really matter in New York because there's so many people who feel they're doing so well in their category. You walk down the street and the baker on that block say, I'm the best baker in this damn block. And I don't care who you are, you're gonna wait in my line like everybody else. That is a New York mentality.
That's true.
What's it? You've spent a lot of time in New York, living in Connecticut now, but I mean, you're a New York guy, John, and coming from Tulsa. How different was it to go from Tulsa, Oklahoma, to New York City?
People always tell me they act like Tulsa don't have buildings.
No,
we do have buildings.
No, you don't. No, you don't.
I've seen them.
Don't even try. No, you don't. Y'all got buildings. They're not tall, though.
We got, let me see, 1, 2. Yeah, we have some buildings. Yeah, we have some tall buildings.
But what was it like to be in New York after New York's unlike any other city. What was it like to you?
It was special, because when you growing up watching basketball and you watch the games at the Garden and they do the panoramic view of the city and stuff, you're like, one day, I want to be there one day. And when I got the opportunity to come to New York, I was like ready to just get there and show what I can do. And when I first got off that plane, my agent, he said, this is going to be a little different. It's going to be a little different.
And you said, hey, haven't you been to Tulsa? It's got tall buildings.
But I describe New York like this, and I tell them, I said, New York is like, a little bit like Oklahoma, a little bit like Tulsa, but just more of it.
Yeah, a lot more of it.
More, and more buildings, like Kenny said, the culture there that you get from New York, which you don't get that in Tulsa.
Right.
Different facet of people.
Do you remember the first time you went to New York?
You know what? The first time, Kenny, you'll appreciate this. AAU, we're playing the Gauchos. We drive from Detroit.
Drove from Detroit?
Yes. All the way to play the Gauchos. When we got there, they had like 1:20 on the clock to warm up.
Oh, we're going to cheat you.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
If we can't beat you, we're going to cheat you.
We did the same thing. And to get a chance to see how many people, because, being from Detroit, we just thought basketball, most people, that many people came to see a game. And it was a small gym. It was the Gauchos gym.
Right.
That was our only one loss in 2 years of my AAU.
Take that back to Detroit with you, baby.
You should have told me you won, man.
Tell the truth. I
would have got the call when this show came on. No, we beat them, kid. No, we didn't beat them.
There was 1:20 on the clock for them to warm up. We beat them. Hey, so great. Remember your first trip there to the Big Apple?
I grew up in D.C., so we were up there all the time, taking the train up to New York. I do remember my first trip to the Garden, and it was a Georgetown St. John's game back in 1984.
Wow.
And so I was a big Georgetown fan, and I think that was around the time that I really was starting to fall in love with basketball. And, to be in the Garden as a fan, and of course to go and play, as a ball player in college and in the NBA, the knowledge of the game that the fans had was unbelievable. And one of my things was, I'd go on the road and in pregame I'd always get hyped, and I'd try to get myself going and get a nice lather or whatever. In New York, in the Garden, as a player, I had to calm down. I had to because you was just so, there was a buzz in the arena and you was so excited and the drive to the Garden and everything. And I didn't play well when I got too hyped up. And so I had to learn to okay, just calm down a little bit and relax and go out there and play. Yeah. But there's no place, no place like it.
Yeah, we'll get more stories from all the guys about what it's like to play at the Garden. Shaq, what do you have to do when you go to New York? What do you make it a point of doing when you go to New York?
Well, as a youngster, we always had to go to the Macy's Day Parade. Always had to do that. And my first time going to the Garden, I was a medium-level juvenile delinquent, and all right, a high-level juvenile delinquent. And my father,
I didn't know those
he used to motivate me with the Knicks and Dr. J. So, one time I had a bad report card. He said, "Hey, your next report card, I'll take you to watch the Knicks and Dr. J play." Dr. J was my favorite player. So at that time, I still had no idea what I wanted to become. So we're sitting up high because we didn't have no money back then. And, it's kind of a slow game, and Dr. J goes baseline, and the crowd goes crazy. And everybody stands up, and I was like, Daddy, this is what I want to do when I grow up. And, because of that, and, because of the atmosphere that was in the Garden, because of what Dr. J did, I quickly stopped being a juvenile delinquent and, really
high
started.
level. High level.
Yeah, high level, and really started focusing on basketball. So then when I'm watching college, a guy by the name of Patrick Ewing is my favorite player. After watching this guy, and, watching how he played, watching the ferocity that he played with, when he went to New York, I became a Knicks fan, especially when I was in college. But when I went pro, because of this guy over here, that quickly changed. I hated the Knicks.